I didn't grow up as a diehard. I think it was because I was so extraordinarily untalented at sports. I witnessed the end of my sports career and playing sports as a hobby for myself at the beginning of it, which was t-ball in North Miami Beach. I think I was about 7 years old, and my first at bat, I struck out. And this is t-ball, so like the ball is here on a stick, and you just have to connect. In Miami in the 1980s, sports were unavoidable. Football in particular. Tennis too. Tennis was really big. There's a lot of tennis clubs and things like that. But football really. I mean, you know, the Dolphins were still legendary from the '72 perfect season. But then you had iconic and legendary players like Dan Marino, Mark Duper playing on the team. The Hurricanes were the big ticket, the big event at that time. So I just grew up in a family that was all about football and going to football. And then when the Miami Heat's inaugural season came around, we were there at the Miami Arena. It was unavoidable. Even though as a kid I was less interested in it, I couldn't escape it. So it became a part of my blood. My passion is for storytelling and filmmaking and Miami. Those are really the passion. So the sports comes from the passion about Miami, about my lifelong home. It was really my passion for filmmaking in Miami that led to the convergence of sports into that world. And when we did a documentary called Cocaine Cowboys about 2006, there were other stories from that era, from our childhood, because that's what Cocaine Cowboys is a story of our childhood. There were other stories from that era, specifically sports stories that we were interested in telling, which we thought were just as epic as Cocaine Cowboys in terms of their contribution to the world of sports. I always say it's like the worst kept secret for filmmakers. Making a sports movie is like cheating. It's practically the easiest thing to do. Whether it's a scripted, a dramatic sports story, or it's a documentary, everything you need is inherent in sports. The drama, the conflict, the obstacles, the overcoming adversity, trying to obtain something that another force is preventing you from getting. I mean, it's like everything you need is right there in it. And I always say, even like the bad sports movies or just like the mediocre sports movies still kind of work, or they're still entertaining, or they still move you, or you still like will be flipping through the channels and you'll see it and you'll be just like, all right, I'm gonna watch this. Yeah, but that's the thing, it's like the formula works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, there's always a desire to want to make it about something more, a bigger picture, a macro perspective. I think all documentarians try to do that. I think you should avoid trying to do that where it doesn't work. We thought that the University of Miami Hurricanes football program in the 80s had something to say about the future of sports and entertainment, about the contribution of hip hop to popular culture, about the athletes, both in college and more importantly professionally, that would blow up after the Hurricanes' reign. Do you have a Dennis Rodman without the existence of the Miami Hurricanes? Like that kind of idea. Do you have Snoop on the sidelines of a USC game without Uncle Luke first on the sidelines of a Hurricanes game? So we thought there was a bigger story to tell about culture, certainly about Miami and how tumultuous it's always been from a race relations perspective. While it feels like it may be overdone already, I think a retrospective looking back after the Miami Heat have won 6 championships in a row. By the time LeBron has a ring for all of his fingers and toes, I think there's a really interesting sports business story to be told about what Pat Riley was able to accomplish in assembling this team, and a lesson I think for other franchises in not just the NBA but other sports as well. And what the players were willing to do to win. I think the NCAA is a huge story right now. I'd love to be able to do that story right now. I think you're seeing this tenuous house of cards start to crumble in slow motion. I think the inherent unfairness has been completely exposed. I don't know that the answer, incidentally, is to dismantle the NCAA or to pay the players. I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I'd love to be able to examine that with the people who do understand it better than I do and do have potential solutions. But I know that massive reform is essential. These are organizations like the NCAA, like a lot of the sports leagues, like the IRS, who have always thrived on secrecy. But in this era, in the 21st century, you really can't, organizations can't really function that way.